friends, and welcome back. So today we're going to talk about something different. Usually I talk in my videos about a very specific topic concerning literature or grammar or something else. Now today I'd like to talk about a concept, to give you a hint, an idea, a new perspective to see something. I always say that literature, philosophy, reading are very important because they can give us something new, a new interpretation of life. This is something I really believe in as a teacher and as a writer. So today I'd like to create a sort of a connection between something very that has just happened in real life and a universal topic in literature. In these days, technologies have helped the human being to take a picture of a black hole. Wow, that's great. What is a black hole in literature? It is evil. And how is evil represented in literature? Well, it is exactly the same as that picture of a black hole. I'm going to explain what I'm trying to say. So, first of all, the most scary object for our minds is the object that is completely unknown, that we can't see. We can't see its features. We can't size it. Okay? There is no way to detect it. Okay, to perceive it with our senses, and so we feel that we have no weapons to fight against that, and the most important weapon we have is our mind. Okay, so the fear, probably the major fear of the human being is the known being. That's the greatest evil. And so the idea of being swallowed up or being absorbed or sucked in that black hole. Now, I've talked in my previous video about Conrad, and I talked about Heart of Darkness. In that work, in that novel, the climax that the narrator creates ends up at the end of the novel, actually, with a sort of a huge evil that is never actually described. Okay, so we can say that nature is impenetrable, it is quite similar, or anyway it is the representation of the human psyche, and evil can watch without being watched. This is very important. So the protagonists, the characters, the human being, have the idea of being controlled, of being watched, without watching back. So without having a very clear idea of how this enemy is actually made. So when the protagonist, when Curse at the end of the novel, in Heart of Darkness, can actually face that evil, that monstrous passions, as Conrad says, the only thing we can read is his cry, his desperate cry, which is the horror. But we can't see that horror. We have no description of that horror. We can just imagine that. And it's also difficult to imagine because we don't have features to imagine that. So, exactly the same technique used by many other authors. Let's think for a moment about Tolkien in The Lord of the Rings. We have read the novel. Most of us have also seen the movie, watched the movie. Actually, in the movie, things are a little more different because obviously cinema has to be more figurative. But anyway, this characteristic is anyway the same. So the universal evil in The Lord of the Rings is Mordor. And also in that case, we have no representations of him, we have no descriptions, we just have an eye that can watch but can't be watched. Same thing. This is exactly the same technique. We have many different enemies, okay? The protagonists fight against those enemies, but the highest idea of evil is not there to be sized, is not there to be fought. It is something that is completely unknown and watches the protagonist, watches the reader somehow. The idea of the eye is also used by Orwell, for example, in 1984. In that case, it's not an existential evil, it is more of a political evil, social evil. We're talking about totalitarianisms, obviously, and dictatorship. So the big brother in that case is watching you. He's watching you, your actions, but also what you are inside, and it can't be watched back. Also in that case, the political authority is completely impossible to know, is impossible to describe somehow. Anyway, we have this idea of the eye, okay, of the eye, and the importance of this lack of physical characteristics of the enemy. It makes me think about something that Hannah Arendt, she's a journalist, she's an essayist, a great writer and philosopher that lived in Germany after the Second World War. She was Jewish actually, and she was in Jerusalem during the trials against Nazis, basically. And in her work, Banality of Evil, that was part of her work, Eichmann in Jerusalem, she said I'm going to read what she said exactly. She said, she wrote actually, "You are quite right. I changed my mind and do no longer speak of radical evil. It is indeed my opinion now that evil is never radical, that is only extreme, and that it possesses neither depth nor demonic dimension. It can overgrow and lay waste the whole world precisely because it spreads like a fungus on the surface. It is thought-defying. It defies the thought. It defies the mind. It tricks the mind, as I said, because thought tries to reach some depth, to go to the roots, and the moment it concerns itself with evil, it is frustrated, because there is nothing. That is its banality. Only the good has depth that can be radical." This is absolutely interesting. Okay, it's very, very interesting. So the mind is frustrated because there is nothing, because evil is nothing sometimes, some way. There are actually many ways to represent evil, especially in this case we are talking about a historical evil, political evil, social evil, and there are other ways to approach that topic, as in Bertolt Brecht. He was a poet, he was a playwright, he was German too, he lived in the same period, and when he tried to talk about the great evil of totalitarianism and what happened in Germany, he used specific techniques. I talked about that in my specific essay, about Bertolt Brecht. He used specific techniques to change, in his works, in his plays, in his tragedies, to change, the place, the settings, all the time, so people could see things, understand mechanisms, but without feeling involved and without feeling their own fault. so they wouldn't try to defend themselves, and they could understand with an open mind and then to reach their own awareness against social and political evil. But that has a specific purpose, because he wanted to teach something. So his work has a didactic function, didactic aim. This is not the kind of evil we are talking about today, the black hole. And that is a sort of an existential evil. And there is nothing that people could do, even being aware of that in order to change it or to fight against it. So the way we represent it in literature is completely different. It's completely different. And it's quite similar to that black hole. The black hole, let's get back for a moment to The Lord of the Rings. You know that in The Lord of the Rings there are the so-called ring wraiths. The ring wraiths, so this sort of a ghosts of the ring. The name ring wraith is quite interesting, because Tolkien creates or chooses this word that is quite similar to the word wrath, which is rage, and also wraith, which means spiraling and moving in a very painful way. So the ring wraiths are empty. There's a hole there. They are absolutely they're not beings, they are non-beings. So they don't live, they don't have their own life, but there is a lack of life there, basically. This is why they are empty. And this is what probably this is one of the greatest fears of the human being, because this is not an alternative, something else, an alternative to life, but it is the denying of life. It's known life, basically. Same goes for Rowling, for Harry Potter, for example. Also in that case, we have some figures, some characters, some entities which are very, very similar to the wraiths, and they are the Dementors. The Dementors, they do the same. They suck the soul, life away, and they eliminate life. But also in this case, what they give is not death, it's a known life, So they are a black hole, exactly as the ring wraith, They are a black wraith that sucks you in, suck you in, absorb you, and give you, they can't be fought, and they can't give you a proper death, but a known life, which is even worse, because it is unknown, or obviously death is unknown too, but we can somehow understand the concept of death. For no reason, we can really, it's impossible for us to understand the concept of known life. So we can say that this is a sort of the description, a way to describe an absolute evil, because nothing is as impossible to fight as the nothing itself. Wow. It seems, it sounds like a pun, but it's not. It's true, actually. And so the monsters have elements, we can say can't be sensed, can't be experienced through senses. This is also an archetype, this is also something that we can connect with a very philosophical concept. As far as Kant was concerned, we know that the noumenon was something that we can't really touch, we can't reach as human beings. We can't just decode the phenomenon, And so evil, this absolute evil, is quite similar to the noumenon of Kant in Kant's philosophy. Okay, so we can actually say that if fear is individual and consternation could be also shared, okay, by group, society, etc. Well, ancestral fear or of nothing is actually more existential. It is completely existential. And it is connected to archetypes. If you think of a baby, okay, he is or she is completely afraid of darkness, emptiness. They can't really imagine, they can't really understand what they're scared of. It's impossible for them to say. And even if they could understand that, they have no weapons to fight against that. But they are scared anyway. They are scared because of an archetype. The archetype of nothing. Okay, in this case. So we can say that as well as Ulysses, okay, in classical tradition, okay, Ulysses answered, "No one, I am no one," to Polypheme, and then he killed him. We can also say that our society, that human beings are afraid of nothing. Okay, so this is why the representation of evil is quite similar to that image, the photograph of our black hole. All right, I hope that has been interesting for you. This is something else, this is something new, this is something that we can think of, because it is interesting sometimes to get over the explanation of an author, of a work, and to try to understand also how it can be related to our life, or anyway our interior life or our unconscious life sometimes. I hope it was quite interesting for you. If it was, please like my video and subscribe my channel. We will be back very soon with English literature again. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.